Yahoo Fantasy Football, the Tucson Tackle Dummies League. This is your Week 6 recap. Moving right into the action, What the Shell knocked off Navajos this week, 128.23 to 122.13 in the week's closest matchup. The week's closest matchup was undecided until the Monday night game was in the books, as Navajos looked to end a 3-game losing streak, but instead, Shell remains the league's top seed, picking up the victory, and Navajos' losing streak now sits at 4. Navajos nearly pulled off the victory, getting 9 players above projections this week to Shell's 7, and 6 in double digits to Shell's 5. The army of bears for Navajos all performed well, with the Chicago quarterback, running back, kicker, and team defense combining for 67.53 points, which was 55% of Navajos' total score this week. The only other players, though, for Navajos with great games were wide receiver Anquan Bolden with 15.2 and linebacker Sean Lee with 13.5 points. The rest of the squad struggled mightily, with no player scoring higher than 6 points, linebacker Lawrence Timmons scoring no points at all, a defensive back left in the lineup on a bye, and tight end Scott Chandler scoring negative 0.05 this week at the tight end position. Meanwhile, Shell had an underwhelming performance but was consistent across the lineup. Quarterback Drew Brees scored a team-high 19.87, while running back Maurice Jones-Drew and fellow running back Cedric Benson combined for 23.35 points. Solid returns from wide receiver Darius Haywood-Bay and A.J. Green helped keep Shell ahead in the matchup and in the league. Shell is now 5-1 and remains the league's highest-scoring team, while Navajo slips to 2-4 and last in the Aztec division. In other action, White Powerade knocked off Wildcats in another tight one, 120.58 to 113.83. Shell can claim sole possession of the Caps division lead after Wildcats falls at the hands of White Powerade this week in a somewhat surprising outcome. Both teams dealt with subpar performances. Powerade had 5 players beat projections, but just 2 of those on offense. Wildcats had just 4 players above projections, and the team's highest scorer was quarterback Matt Schaub with just 14.15 this week. Powerade had a game-high 18.78 from quarterback Michael Vick and a combined 19 points from tight ends Jeremy Shockey and Fred Davis. Defense was a narrow victory for Powerade thanks to 3 players on that side beating projections to Wildcats' 2, and a more consistent performance overall. Powerade outscored Wildcats at defensive line 12-1 and got 10.5 points from defensive back Charles Tillman. With the win, Powerade moves out of the bottom of the Aztec division, while the loss puts Wildcats a game back for the Cab division lead at 4-2, and now in a standings tie with fellow 4-2 team Raging Boners. Also in action, AZ Chargers knocked off Big Ben's Revenge 115.7 to 107.17. Lineup issues for both squads led to a close battle, but a desperate attempt late for Big Ben would ultimately come up short, and AZ Chargers snags a key victory in the process. AZ Chargers left 2 players in on a bye week, and Big Ben went into Sunday's games with a lineup full of holes as well. Late Sunday, in an attempt to make up for the Swiss cheese lineup, Big Ben signed the best available free agents that were going to be playing in the Monday night game, which featured the Miami Dolphins and New York Jets. But the desperate play just didn't pay off. The 6 players for Big Ben that were in the Monday night contest combined for just 10 points, with none scoring higher than 3.95, and 2 of those scoring 0. The failed but noble attempt, combined with a poor defensive showing, did in Big Ben, as his 6 individual defensive players combined for just 7.8 points. This nullified great performances from the Philadelphia defense with 15 points, quarterback Curtis Painter, who continues to surprise with 13.07 this week, and even a game-high 26.95 from running back Michael Turner. AZ Chargers overcame his own lineup woes and an injured Joseph Adai in the lineup, thanks to 27.6 from wide receivers Santonio Holmes and Aurelius Ben. Holmes, a New York Jet, ironically outscored all the players used by Big Ben for his Monday night Hail Mary. The wide receiver play combined with a surprising team high 17.25 from quarterback Colt McCoy, would allow the AZ Chargers to hold off Big Ben and claim a game lead in the Toro division, sitting at 4-2, while Big Ben is now at the bottom of the Wildcat division, sitting at 2-4. In other action around the league, Glorious Bear Jew knocked off Mustache Discount 165.36 to 151.84. By far the most competitive matchup of the week. Pitted Week 6 two highest scoring teams against one another in a high scoring shootout and a rematch from last season's semifinals. Both teams beat overall scoring projections, with Bear getting 10 players above projections, 8 of those on offense, and 3 of those hitting 20 points. Mustache counted with 8 players beating projections and a game-high 21.1 from running back Frank Gore. For Bear Jew, running backs LaShawn McCoy and Rashard Mendenhall combined for 41 points, and kicker Billy Cundiff chipped in 20 points himself. Tight ends Aaron Hernandez and Jimmy Graham added a combined 26.95, officially making it an offensive explosion for Bear Jew. Mustache got solid returns across the board, but couldn't keep up with the offensive onslaught, thanks in part to mediocre wide receiver play. All 4 wide receivers in the Mustache lineup scored below projections, and the quarterback to wide receiver handcuff of Tony Romo and Dez Bryant wasn't nearly as successful as it's been in previous weeks, despite still combining for 28.53 points. The win keeps Bear Jew a game out in the Wildcat division, trailing Lombardi's Ghost, while the loss drops Mustache a game back in the Toro division, trailing AZ Chargers. In other action, Viva Football defeats Championship Cheese 127.28 to 110.64. Viva is finally a winner in fantasy football, overcoming lineup issues to knock off a 2-time champ in the process for the squad's first ever win. Viva scored 40 points on defense to Cheese's 30.5, despite leaving 2 slots empty on the defensive side of the ball. This was possible because Viva got a game-high 24 from the New York Jets defense on Monday night to seal the win, and because Cheese's own defense, the New Orleans defense, scored a -1 this week. On offense, Viva got 21.57 from quarterback Josh Freeman and 20.55 from wide receiver Marcus Colston. Cheese had a team-high 17.35 from running back Ray Rice, but even that was below projections. Running back Ernest Graham had a good day with 13.6 points, but Cheese's 3 wide receivers combined for just 13.45 and left Cheese unable to keep up. Viva winning leaves just 1 team winless now, while Cheese is now 2 games back in the Wildcat division and stuck mid-pack at 3-3 overall. Speaking of the only winless team, the Amazons knocks off winless Angry Arthritis 143.49 to 116.96. The league's only winless team falls to 0-6 on the season, the second worst start in league history. Sixburg opened the 2009 campaign with an 0-8 start to the season, and Arthritis inched a game closer to that dubious mark thanks to a strong game from Amazons this week. Amazons got 29.05 combined from running backs Darren McFadden and Javid Best, helping to overcome running back Peyton Hillis, scoring just 1.4 this week. Quarterback Matthew Stafford added 22.02 to win the quarterback battle, beating out 12.63 from Arthritis' Eli Manning. Arthritis had a game-high 24.05 from running back Fred Jackson, but disappointing performances from Roddy White with just 2.6, running back D'Angelo Williams with 4.85, and Denarius Moore scoring less than a point made things impossible for Arthritis this week. Defense was a solid win for Amazons with an impressive 62 points, beating out Arthritis' 40.5, thanks to 19 points from Revis Island and the Green Bay defense netting 14 this week for Amazons. Arthritis countered with 13 from the Oakland defense and a surprising 11.5 from linebacker Navarro Bauman. But defensive linemen Dominican Sue and Will Smith combined for just 1.5 for Arthritis this week. The win brings Amazons back to 500 overall at 3-3, while Arthritis must deal with being the most scored on team in the league by nearly 90 points more than the second most scored on team, and despite having himself outscored 6 other teams overall to this point. Also in action, Raging Boners knocked off Mojo Jojo 143.3 to 118.55. Aztec division leading Mojo tripped up this week against the surging Boners team, riding a 3-game winning streak. A decisive victory for Boners was made possible thanks to a game-high 31.5 from running back Ahmad Bradshaw, plus 10.05 from fellow running back Mark Ingram, who continues to surprise, and a combined 25.28 from his 2 wide receivers, and Cam Newton at quarterback, chipping in 18.53. Mojo won the quarterback battle with 25.75 from Aaron Rodgers, but that was actually below projections, and only 3 other players reached double digits for Mojo. 5 players scored under 3 points this week for the team. Brandon Marshall at wide receiver did score 12.4, but his 3 other wide receivers, Mojo, this week combined for just 5 points. Mojo survives the loss, though, to maintain a 1-game lead in the Aztec division, sitting at 4-2, while Raging Boners moves into just a game behind in the Cab division, sitting at 4-2 as well. And in the week's biggest blowout, Lombardi's Ghost knocked off Greek Thunderball 131.82 to 99.08. This week's biggest blowout was a combination of a great game from the Wildcat division leader and a poor performance from the understaffed Greek. Lombardi got a game-high 25.03 from Devin Hester and 33.65 from the quarterback to wide receiver handcuff Tom Brady and Wes Welker. These performances overcame a disappointing day at tight end as Jermichael Finley and Benjamin Watson combined for just 6.5 points. Greek had 6 in double digits this week, but a mediocre game high 13.5 from quarterback Ben Roethlisberger, and his 3 running backs combined for just 11.62. Defense was a no contest because Greek left 4 individual defensive players in the starting lineup on a bye, nullifying a 12.5-point game from linebacker Alden Smith. Lombardi's victory improves the team to 5-1 overall, while Greek falls to 2-4, 2 back in the Toro division. Looking ahead to Week 7, a lot of key matchups will take place as this is the final week before the halfway point in the regular season. 5-1 Lombardi will take on 3-3 Mustache. 4-2 Mojo will take on 4-2 Wildcats. That's sure to be a very important matchup. 4-2 AZ Chargers will meet 4-2 Bear Jew in another crucial matchup, while 5-1 Shell will take on 2-4 Powerade. Also in action, 4-2 Raging Boners will meet 3-3 Amazons. 3-3 Cheese will take on 2-4 Greek. 2-4 Big Ben will meet 1-5 Viva, and the winless Arthritis will try to pick up his first win of the season, taking on 2-4 Navajos. Both teams currently riding massive losing streaks, so we'll see which team finally gets off the schneid in that one. So we'll talk to you again next week for the Week 7 recap. Until then, good luck.